Welcome to Drupal Camp Asheville. The title of this session is Help I'm Lost, a NativeScript and Drupal 8 story. So we're going to talk about a project that I had when I was working at AV Tech Community College here in Asheville. And first of all, this is me on the web. You can find me. This is me, Ainsley, on Drupal.org, and on Twitter I am at AlphaMaryDesign. I am a full stack developer at TechLink Solutions. Our office is here in Arden, North Carolina. We do custom applications, we do Drupal development, and mobile application development. So you can find more information about TechLink on the web if you just Google TechLink Solutions. All right. So moving on, what we're going to talk about today is the project at AV Tech, where I was the webmaster. We're going to talk about the problem that we had, the process to the solution that we came up with. I came up with. I say we because I felt like it was more than me involved in the project. We had a lot of communication with the student life folks and stuff. So when I say we, there was communication inside the college, which really helped make the project a better project. And then we're going to look at the technology that we ultimately used, and then we'll look at the final product, which is a mobile application. All right, so a little bit about the client here. So although I was working as the webmaster, if you've been in an educational situation or an organization like this, you're really dealing with a client. Even though you're employed there, you really have to look at it like you're dealing with a client. So that's why I say the client here in the title of the slide. And so AV Tech is located in Asheville, North Carolina. They service about 7,500 curriculum students a year, and about 15,000 continued education students each year. And they have 6 locations in Buncombe and Madison County. So there's pretty decent sized community college. Not the largest in North Carolina. There's some larger community colleges in North Carolina, but it's one of the bigger community colleges in North Carolina. All right. So the problem. Let's talk about the problem we had. So at AV Tech, almost every semester you could guarantee, especially the fall semester, you could almost guarantee that you would run into some new student, new person. They even sometimes had their parents with them that were looking for some building that was on the other side of campus, or you would see people walking down from like where the Elm building was, like walking down the road, they'd come across the road and you'd ready to be like, hey, you know where the Elm building's at? They're like, oh yeah, it's up there where you just came from. And so one semester I was in the marketing department, we were out shooting a video, and we see this lady and her son coming down the sidewalk across the street, and they're walking down there. And we know what's going on because they got their little campus map out, they're looking at it, they walk across the street, and they're like, hey, excuse me, but do you know where Sycamore's at? Well, it was up where they just come from. We're like, oh yeah, it's up there. They're like, oh, we parked over here at this parking lot. So they're parked way across the street. They're looking for the class. The kid I think is just out of high school, because his mom is still there with them, walking around campus on the first day, So that was very common. That was a problem. And so Student Life and Development noticed that problem. They also noticed it was hard for people to find accessible parking, and find out where handicapped or accessible entrances were on buildings. Where if I was in a wheelchair, which side of the building should I go to? Gender neutral bathrooms is a big deal on college campus. So there's, Student Life was interested in being able to provide that information to people. So along with people just being able to generally navigate the campus and find out where they should be at, there was also some points of interest that they felt like people weren't able to find. So as a result of that, someone in student life contacted me and said, hey, I saw this thing online that I would like to replicate for this problem we're having, right? And so I said, okay, sure, what is that thing? So that thing was a custom, you can't even do this anymore, I don't think. I think they had archived this, like the maps that you had, you can keep, but I don't think you can create new My Maps anymore. But the thing was a Google map where you would draw, it's kind of hard to see, but you would draw little polygons on areas, and it would build this list on the left, and you could click on this, and it would show you where it was at over here, or you could click on the thing here, and it would open up this menu and give you some information about it. Kind of cool, kind of useful, ish, but not really. And so this is what it looked like when you, kind of zoomed in on it. Here's faculty and staff parking, students can't park there. Handicap parking here, motorcycle parking. So that's just kind of what they were envisioning. Like we would have these areas detailed out for students. They would be able to click on things that would show on the map. So we're like, awesome, that's great. So, and then the guy that originally interacted with me about the project left the college. I added him as a user to we made the map, added him as a user. He was gonna finish up that evening. I showed him how to draw the polygons. He was gonna maintain the map. He left the college. So the project goes dead for a year. Nobody else in student life. There's only one, there was a lady in student life and him were both full-time. He left. It's just her, right? So there's nobody to do this part of it. So it hangs on the line for a year. She gets some help, and she comes back and she says, hey, about that maps thing, we'd like to really move forward with that. Let's meet and talk about it. So we have a meeting. And so in that meeting, she says, the one thing that changed the whole project is, it'd be nice if people could just walk around with their phone and be able to find where they're at. And so I said, oh, I'm not sure if we can do that with Google Maps or not, because of responsiveness. And so this is what it would look like on a device, right? So it's, where the viewport's narrower, it's just not, it's okay. You're kind of used to this in a navigation app, right? Smaller surface area, you can still see the points and stuff. The problem is, when you click on something, wham. So it's not designed for mobile, right? There's some issues using that, being able to tell where you're at. And there was some issues there with locating yourself, using the menus and stuff. It's not responsive. And also, we didn't really have any customization. We couldn't really couldn't easily add some of the information we wanted to add or maintain it. So when we discovered this, we were like, well, maybe we should look at something else. Maybe we should, we should do this. And so at that point, it triggered the thought process of let's look at another solution. How else can we handle this problem? And so as we're talking and sitting in this meeting and kind of discussing what she would like, I'm thinking, well, this would be a perfect situation for a mobile application. And we have a GIS program. Maybe we can somehow use these resources. I know NativeScript and Angular. Maybe we can do something there, right? So out of that meeting, we came up with some new requirements, right? So I'm thinking, so now I'm thinking mobile app at that point. So I'm asking questions like, well, what does it need to do? This is kind of the broad stroke of what it needed to do. It needed to be mobile friendly on iOS and Android. It needed to provide some navigation. It needed to be able to list points of interest and list building locations. And so that's what the app needed to do. And so looking at those new requirements, we came up with I said, well, that would be perfect for NativeScript and Drupal 8. And so based on technical knowledge that I had, so sometimes you find you have a problem, right? And you look at ways to solve that problem, and you look at the resources you have, which sometimes is your technical knowledge, right? And so if you know a way to create a solution to something based on knowledge that you already have, it's more efficient, right? Instead of saying, well, I know this other thing, people have done it with this other thing, but I have to learn that other thing, right? That makes it difficult to make it a good solution, because then you're learning while you're developing, which takes more time. It's an internal project, not a big deal so much. If it's an external project, I really don't recommend doing that, because there's a lot of learning there. But if you kind of already know technologies, then you come up with a good solution. So I already knew NativeScript, I already knew Angular, I already knew Drupal 8. I knew that we could get an API from Drupal 8 that we could talk to with NativeScript mobile application. So I said, hey, let's use that. And then once again, I knew that we had a GIS program that could collect the location information, all the points of interest for us. So when you think about that, you say, well, I need to know where this door is at, right, on a map. Well, there's 2 coordinates that you got to know. You got to know longitude and latitude, right? So for every point of interest that we needed to have, we had to have longitude and latitude information for that. If we wanted to draw polygons on the map, we would need like 4 coordinates for it. We decided not to do polygons. Well, I did, but it is conceivable that the system would allow us to draw polygons on the map system that we built, but decided not to because it was kind of, the map is small and stuff, and we don't want to clutter it up too much. But so you need all these longitude, latitude coordinates, and you need somebody to collect that. And I was like, GIS program. And so I contacted the GIS instructor, and I'm getting a little ahead of myself in my slides here, but they were more than happy to help. So then what I did next was took these requirements and said, well, all right, what part of the requirements, what technologies am I going to use to meet these requirements, right? The mobile app part was easy because NativeScript allows you to write, you can use Angular, you can use JavaScript, you can use Vue, Vue.js, you can use a number of JavaScript technologies to write code, and then NativeScript will compile that code into native iOS and native Android code for you. So then you end up with an Xcode project or a Android Studio project that you could then conceivably write add-ons to in native code, in Swift or Java, if you wanted to. So, if you're familiar with Cordova or what they call PhoneGap, those technologies would allow you to build a mobile application, but it would run it inside a WebView container, which would limit your access to the native APIs of the device. And also the performance was not as good. So now what you have is your code being compiled into native code, it's running against the native APIs, and you get offline functionality and a number of other feature enhancements that you don't have with some of the other technologies. So that's why I went with NativeScript and Angular. I chose Angular because I had experience writing that. The API, I knew that Drupal 8 had a JSON API available, and I knew from testing that module that it was easy to use. So then I did a little bit of research based on requirements, and I said, I want the mobile app to be able to communicate with the Drupal site, but I want only the mobile app to be able to communicate over that API. So OAuth 2 authentication is used to prevent other communications, other sites and other people from being able to talk to the API. They get a request denied there. But and then the location data piece of the requirements was ArcGIS, which is our GIS program. It's a system they use to put in their longitude and latitude coordinates and make their maps and stuff. And after some conversation with the instructor, I found out that they could export out JSON, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But so those are kind of like how I broke down those kind of overarching requirements and said, oh, what really needs to happen here? And this is not super specific, you know. You might could break it down even more, but for me, I just need to know what technology is going to be used to solve which part of this thing. So that's how I broke it down. And so the app. Let's talk about the app. So the app is NativeScript. I wish I've said that about 20 times, I think. Using Angular, I just updated Angular 6. And to tell you how fast that moves, JavaScript front-end frameworks, if you're not aware of that, they move screaming fast. When I started on it, it was Angular 2, then I upgraded to Angular 4, then I noticed recently that they had released Angular 6, so now we're on Angular 6. Good thing is that the upgrades from version to version with Angular have been pretty painless. When the move from Angular 1.5 to 2 was a complete rewrite, but after that, after they got 2 stable, there was a few releases early on in Angular 2 that had some breaking changes, but after they got that stable, it's been fairly easy to upgrade. Going from 4 to 6, they use a different HTTP client, and so the app uses HTTP client in a service to make the request. And so when I upgraded to 6, I had to rewrite that. Not rewrite, basically rename some things to use the new HTTP client in the app. But it's pretty smooth, and Angular is pretty solid. Angular allows me for fast development, so it's pretty easy to learn. It's very well defined, documentation's good, you know what you need to do. There's not a lot of vagueness there, in my opinion. It would be easy for me to pass off to a new dev, right? So I left the college, right? We have an app there, you know, what happens, right? And that situation happened. So Angular is easy enough to learn that somebody can go on there and start learning Angular and get up to speed pretty quick with it. And so that was, that's another reason for choosing that technology. It's like, oh, this is something that pretty easy for anybody to learn, I think. It gives us a single code base.
And so thank you.
Do what?
And thank you.
and he thanks me to do take webmaster. And we have a single code base. So now we can manage one code base, a NativeScript application, and we can output that to 2 applications, 2 mobile applications, native applications. This is a big deal. So to interact with the Google Maps API, when I was researching this, I was like, oh, there's a lot of stuff that needs to happen here for me to talk to this API. I'm going to write a lot of components and stuff. And so I was doing some research, and there's a well-maintained Google Maps API component for Angular. And specifically Angular NativeScript. But yeah, so it was already there. So that was another benefit to using NativeScript Angular. It was like, oh, somebody's already did this work here. And interfacing with the Google Maps API, I can plug in my API key and have access to Google Maps. So that was a bonus. The Angular code, so this is another great thing about NativeScript and Angular, is the Angular code inside of the NativeScript application is reusable. And I'll show you, I think my next slide, yes, the next slide has a screenshot of the NativeScript application, and if you've ever seen an Angular app, you'll immediately recognize that it looks just like an Angular component. And that's really all it is. So conceptually what we could do is just take those components straight out of there, put them on the web, and run them as a web app. The only real, I'd say about 80% of the code is reusable. The only real NativeScript heavy stuff in there is in the templates, right? So there's some custom elements in the templates that NativeScript uses for things like stack layouts or scroll views, or if you know about mobile applications, they have specific kinds of views. And so NativeScript has some custom elements that provide those kind of views and buttons and stuff, things like that. But I'd say about 80% of the code is just Angular components, right? So we could rip that out, make a web app out of it if you wanted to, for whatever reason. And then here's the biggie, I can use TypeScript. So because I can write TypeScript in Angular, I can write TypeScript in my NativeScript application. And TypeScript is a, what do they call it, like a superset of JavaScript. That's what they call it. But it's strictly typed JavaScript. And so it allows you to write code a lot cleaner. I can run a linter on it. It shows me where I'm messing up. It helps me to write clean code. It's not real buggy. And it's easy to write. So I like TypeScript. So those are the reasons that, digging down deeper into why I chose NativeScript and Angular, those are some of the reasons why. And if you have a project where you're considering developing a mobile app for a project, I think you should definitely look at NativeScript. Even if you're not using Angular, you can use JavaScript, or you can use Vue, which is very popular now. Lots of people are using Vue.js. You could write Vue.js with NativeScript. And once again, you have reusable code that you can use on the web that you can pull out of that NativeScript app. So there's some considerations there. So here's the code, and my linter is given, ignore the squiggly, red squiggly lines. My linter is saying, this is experimental, you should check on this, and it says it can't find this, but it can find this because it's there. Oh, the IDE can't find it, but it's there. But if you've ever seen an Angular component, this is an Angular component. This is the component from the application that displays the abilities. So, but this is just Angular code. You can rip this out, put it in the web app, and it runs. Well, you compile it first, but yeah, it's easy once you wrote one Angular. I mean, it's easy to understand syntax. It's pretty straightforward. This is what the code looks like. We'll have some time probably at the end to look at some more of the code if you guys want to. I'm doing great on time, I think. All right, so now we're going to talk about Drupal 8. So why Drupal 8? It's awesome. So it's a robust, enterprise level system. So I'm in a community college, right? So we need good tools, right? So it's a robust system for data management. So I know that if I can get my data into it, it's going to be a good way for me to manage that data, right? It's a flexible module system. So me thinking about how to get my data in there, I'm already thinking about what I need to do. I use Drupal 8 to get the GeoJSON data that ArcGIS puts out into the site. How do I do that? Okay, so I know there's a flexible module system. I could probably write a module that would import that data for me. There's a permission system. So I know I'm going to need some permissions, right? So I'm going to need to be able to manage it. Permissions are super easy in Drupal. I can easily manage, get really fine-grained permissions. I didn't really need it for the app, but I did need some level of permission control to give the app permissions on the system and to prevent other people, unauthorized users, from having access to the data. Although most of the data is public, I still wanted to lock it down. Drupal 8 has large community support. So there's lots of Slack channels, there's lots of ways you can reach out and get support related to Drupal 8. So that was like, yeah, this is a good solution for this problem that we're having, for this piece of it. So, I'm kind of going through the things that were in that defined requirements. JSON API, which is a module for Drupal 8 that's spectacular. So, and well maintained, and has documentation. Those are the three things. Check. No configuration. You install the module, you have access to the endpoint. The endpoints for your custom content types, for taxonomies, for all these things. all your content, mostly. There's some things it doesn't do, but those things that it doesn't do are very clearly defined in the documentation. It's like, what JSON API doesn't do, and it lists out the things it doesn't do. And then it tells you how you should do those things, which absolutely makes sense. You should use core for some things like permissions, user management. JSON API doesn't do that stuff. There's a REST endpoints in core for that. So it allows access to the custom, so I'm creating custom content types, custom taxonomies. It allows me to access those things. It also returns JSON that is easy for me to manipulate on the client side, right? I want it to return me some standardized JSON. You know, I don't want to install a module and then like realize that, oh, it has its own JSON structure. Now I need to write for that. So this uses a JSON spec in the JSON that returns, and you can expect the same thing from this as you would from any other application that uses JSON specification. Which is cool because then I can transport this logic, this front end stuff somewhere else, to another project if I need to. But like, oh yeah, that module that I used over there had these quirks about it, but now I need to make sure I account for that here. You know, I don't have to worry about that. It just works. So that was good. That's another bonus. The JSON API module. So OAuth 2 module. So there's a Drupal module called OAuth 2. Is everybody familiar with what OAuth authentication is? Kind of heard about it maybe. OAuth authentication is like a, oh gosh, it works based on access tokens. So you make a request to a server gives you back an access token. That access token is good for a period of time. After that access token expires, you can either refresh that token or you can prevent the user from, like, oh, if you're expired, you're logged out and you log back in or whatever. In this situation, we're using the tokens for the app to communicate with the server. So we get an access token from the server. Before the access token expires, we refresh that token and we get another token. And so as long as we have proper access that way, then we're, the app is able to talk to the server. So in OAuth 2 is very common. So it's a common communication. If you Google OAuth 2, you're going to find the OAuth 2 documentation. It's very common. So this is just like you actually use the library, the PHP library for it, install it on the site, and then install the module. And there is some configuration there for the OAuth 2 module. It's not just like, you know, drop it in and it works. You have to configure it, you have to create private, public keys, which, you know, is good. You want to do that. Put those in a safe place. But so there's some configuration there, and then it provides you an endpoint for authentication. So you can hit that endpoint, get your access tokens, and authenticate the app. So that's why I chose that, because it had the stuff I needed inside of that. And, you know, using something common like OAuth, you know, people that have OAuth experience would understand what's going on there. So that I figured, you know, transferability was good there, somewhat good. All right. So here comes the fun, right? So we're going to move into talking a little bit about the location data, right? We're talking about navigation here. We're talking about points of interest. So the location data is like that's a big deal, right? So ArcGIS. So ArcGIS is a mapping system used by lots of people, surveyors, colleges use it for teaching. It allows you to upload data, and there's even like a mobile app where you can like, I can be like here and then like say, hey, send my location, you know, and it sends like the coordinates for where you're at to the system, and you can write notes about what that location is. It's a pretty robust system. They actually have a mobile app, another mobile app that you can use like for displaying your apps. And we actually did look at that solution. When I contacted the GIS instructor, he said, oh, well, ArcGIS has in this mobile app. And then I was like, well, but then looking at that app, it just allow you to display your maps that you have built in the ArcGIS system, but we wouldn't have the extra customizations. We could add on like the points of interest list and those kind of things that we were able to with the NativeScript app. So so it wasn't a viable solution. So talking about the ArcGIS system, it has an API that has multiple endpoints. So theoretically, you could say, oh, well, let's just call the ArcGIS API. It returns the data, and we're good to go. However, I tested the API, and it returned the data in a way that would have needed multiple requests. So it returned a lot of IDs, which were really pointers in its system to other places in memory where it had data stored. And so what I would need to do is not choke. And so what I would need to do is I would need to call ArcGIS for a map, get that information back, and then for like coordinate locations, points of interest, things, make additional calls into the system based on an ID number to get more information back. And so now we're starting a round trip, and then some of the information wasn't collected like in the same arrays. It just seemed weird. When I looked at the output of the API, I was like, this might not be the best situation. I don't know if I want to work with this, right? So then I was talking to the GIS instructor about what other options does the system have, and he says, oh, well, it'll output CSV files or JSON files or XML. Oh wait. JSON? Did you say JSON? Because if you know about mobile applications, JSON's great for ingesting data into a mobile application. So when he said that, I said, okay, well, export out the data into a JSON file. Let me see it, and I'll see if I can use it or not. So he sent me emailed me the JSON export, and it was clean, well structured. I was like, oh man, this is great. I can iterate right through this client side on the app, no problem. So then at that point I decided that we would not use the API, we would use JSON exports, and then we would figure out a way to import those into Drupal. And so I mentioned this earlier, but so then we had the students go out, collect the information, they put it into the ArcGIS system, and then the GIS instructor exported that information out and sent it to me. And so the thinking there was, campus locations, points of interest, those things don't change very often. You don't really need like real time, right? So like, how many parking spaces are going to change unless we build a brand new parking spot, right? Parking lot. How many push button doors are going to change, right? Probably not many, unless you build a new building. How many buildings are going to change? Not many, So the idea there was there wasn't really a need for like real time API, so we could get away with just him sending me the file, and we import it in Drupal. It populates all the stuff. We'll talk about that a little bit more, but so that brings us to this slide. It's like, so now we know we have the data, so we got these JSON files full of all this location data, coordinates and everything. So what do we do with it, right? And I've already kind of spoiled like what we're going to do with it, but not very good at this. But so now, like, what do we do? What am I going to do with these JSON files that this instructor is sending me? These students are collecting information for. So location data plus Drupal equals custom module. So I think, well, let's write a module that can ingest this data. We can use this data in Drupal. We can create nodes, associate. We can make relationships. We can do all that programmatically, like, I think. Let's see if we can do it. And so the requirements were we need to ingest the JSON file. We need to parse the GeoJSON data. We need to create nodes. We had some taxonomies for building things that need to be associated with the node. And then we need to clean up afterwards. We didn't want. I didn't want to have. I have the JSON file locally stored, I didn't want to leave it on the server. I wanted it to clean up after itself. I upload a file, once the process is done, it removes the file from the server. I didn't need to live there, so we were keeping those local. It's probably safer that way. So those were the requirements for the module. And so based on those requirements, I started writing code. And so what I ended up with was a custom module. This is a screenshot from the admin side. So in Drupal 8, you can add links and stuff. So this is the admin panel, it's like normally where your content is, you know. If you're familiar with Drupal 8 sites, you would recognize this. So it's added the thing here, so we can easily, like when we're on the content screen, we can import the JSON, because we're actually creating nodes with it, so it's content related. So you upload the file, have a data type here. So we had two types of data that we were specifically exporting. One of them was a point of interest data type, and the other one was a waypoint information data type. The waypoint information was building information. Everything else was a point of interest data type. And so you could select which data type you're importing. If you go on it, if you're doing a point of interest import, which is most likely, because those would be most likely to change. Like they just added like, I don't know, like 15 bike racks on campus or something. Well, they're supposed to go that over the summer, so that'll change. So now you do the export, and then we'll import that in. So you can upload it here, click save. It creates all that stuff in the background. You go over to the content tab, and there's all your nodes. So that was the module. That was written. We can look at some of the codes for that if you guys want to. Who wants to look at code? A few people. Okay. We'll look at some of that, and if we have time here, I think we will.
Can we see the app? I mean, can we pull up the app on our phone?
I got you. Wait for it. It's coming.
Jump ahead. Okay.
Yep. So I did a video of it. So I was going to try to, and I'm glad I did, because I was going to try to, I have a application on my laptop that allows me to screencast from my mobile device to the laptop, but it's not working over UNCA's Wi-Fi. But I have a video here, so you'll be able to see like the video of me going through the app. And I have it on my phone, so I can show it to you after the session. All right, so another thing about the module that's really cool, this is a Drupal 8 thing, is configuration management, right? So for the module and importing the GeoJSON, I knew that I needed to have certain content types in place, right? So this thing is like creating nodes of content type this. Well, what if they're not there, right? What if we have a site goes, this happens. What if the site gets blown away, which actually happened during this process? I had to recreate it from scratch because we were, anyway, long story short, there wasn't backups. So you know what happens there? You definitely know what happens there. You start from scratch. So that we had the configuration exported, so then I could just import the configuration. It would create the taxonomy and the content types and stuff for me. So you can use Drush. Anybody know what Drush is? Common Drupal tool. You can use Drush, run this command. It would import that configuration that comes packaged with the module. So I had the configuration exported with the module. So when you install the module, all the configuration's there, and you import that, and it creates these things that you need for the module to work properly. Did a partial import so that it's if it's already there, it doesn't overwrite this here, mess things up. So that was another cool part of it, was being able to export that configuration. That's a Drupal 8 thing, the new configuration management. It's awesome because I can send my module out there and package it up, and then like if I need stuff to be configured, they can use another. I can say in the documentation, import this configuration, install the module, you're good. So that was awesome. Yeah, so I included the taxonomies and content types in that configuration. So I made sure the site had what I needed to complete the import. All right. This is what the app home screen looks like. There's a button. This is navigate our campus. So this is like where you click to start enter into the navigation. This takes you to the website. This pops up a modal on the device to call information. So if you need information about whatever, classes or whatever, you can actually use the app just to call information. If you're on campus or if you just call the police, everything has a police department and they're actually police, they're not security. You click this button, pops up, do you want to call this number? Click yes, and you're on the phone with the police mobile cell phone number. So it's actually an officer on duty. So now, we're going to look at, this is a video of me using the app, and it's going to play. So click on the screen, comes to the app. There's a little everything icons on the buildings. This is a parking icon for veterans. And veterans parking, click on it. This is a building, click on it, tells you what's in the building. Tells you the building name, if you look for a certain building, you can find it. This is a building detail list. So it has the information about the building and the picture of the building. So like, oh, that's the one. It's something that they wanted in the app. It's a point of interest list. That's not clear. Stop this. Let me pause this on some of these sections so we can kind of look at them. That's the building list right here. All right. So the point of interest list, you would click on a point like I need an accessible bathroom, restroom. You click on accessible restroom, and it will take you to a list of buildings. So like, where am I at? You know, whatever building you're at, you pick that one. Show me the accessible restrooms in that building. So then you click on it, and you're like, oh, so here's, you know, and so also the app. You don't see it in this video because it was on a simulator, but the app shows you a blue dot where you're at. So like if I'm standing in front of this building, I know I'm at what building is this? This is a Hemlock building. So if I know I'm at the Hemlock building, I click on accessible bathrooms in that building, it's going to show me a blue dot right here. And I can say, oh, well, I need to go in this building and go to the round to the right, which the bathroom is actually right here on the lower level. I need to go around to the right. It's on this side, and it's in this hallway. So you walk in the building, oh, there's a hallway here. And then there you are. And you can see your blue dot, you know, where you're at. So you know how to get there. Additionally,
You were doing that from home?
I was doing that from home because I'm 30,000 feet away. But you can also click and be like, how close am I to this thing, right? If it's especially an accessible restroom or something, I may not be able to travel that far, depending on the situation. How close am I to this? I may just need to call security and get help. You know what I'm saying? So, so you can click here and get the distance away from the point of interest that you're looking for. Including the help screen. So in the top right corner of the app, I don't know if you noticed or not, but up here there was a little help button. So you can click on it and it's a link to support services. If you're having trouble navigating the campus, you can contact support services. It has a little key here, you know, and what do these icons on the map mean? I thought it'd be good to like, you know, hey, you know, here's a key of what these things mean. Yeah. So we included that in here. You can click this and it calls that number for support services. Cool thing about having, you know, those links on the device, you click it and it's like, oh, you want to call? Yeah, click. And you're talking to somebody. It's pretty simple, but it solves. So, yeah, this is me clicking. I'll go ahead and play it out. But it's me clicking the call button and it pops up. Call. Nope. Do not want to call the police. Nothing is wrong. So that's the app. It's pretty simple, but it accomplishes the problem that they had, right? So now you can see where you're at. You can find where you're at. I don't know if you noticed or not. Right here. This is another cool feature of the app. The Start Compass button. So if I'm looking for, I don't know, the Elm Building, right? And I go through the map and I say, oh, the Elm Building's way over here, right? So I can click this button, Start Compass, and then immediately starts tracking my location, right? And so then as I'm navigating the campus, it's showing me where I'm at in relation to this building I'm looking for, right? So the question The reason we had this feature was because the question was raised, can we draw the line to show the person how to get there? And the answer to that question is no. The GIS instructor said, without some kind of very expensive special mapping on campus, there would be no way to feed into the system like, oh, I'm right here. You know how when your Google Apps map navigation, they've mapped all that stuff on the roads and stuff. They have mapped some sidewalks, so you can get walking maps. They have not mapped our campus, so it wouldn't work. But if they had mapped our campus, it's conceivable that we'd be able to draw them a line that would hit our compass, and it would have the line. Here's your endpoint, and here's how you walk, right? And we're hoping at some point we'll be able to get that, you know, in this app. But right now, it hits our compass and it follows you and shows you which direction you're pointing. And as you turn directions, it moves the map for you, you know. And as you're moving, you can scroll in, pinching in and out, you know, to see, keep your bearings and stuff. But the map follows you around campus as you're walking. And you can stop it at any time if you know, it's not following you correctly. There's, you know, this button recenters your location on the map if you were to get, like, oh, my dot's gone or something. Kind of general Google Maps functionalities there.
So, simple question.
Simple question. Yes, sir.
Like the help page, is that stored in Drupal or in like NativeScript?
The help, so the question is the help page stored in Drupal or is it in NativeScript? The help,
It should be a simple question.
if I remember correctly, the help page is a node.
Okay, so you're
In
pulling
Drupal.
like nodes that aren't just like
Yeah, so
geolocations.
the HTTP service has a few different endpoints in it.
Okay.
Not a few different endpoints, a few different clients that get different kinds of data. Waypoint, just regular node, and point of interest has 3 different functions.
Okay.
In the HTTP service.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if it was being fed from Drupal or if it was like that.
Oh, just written in the app?
Yeah.
I think it's in Drupal.
Okay. Cool.
Any other questions? Code? No? I got 1 minute, so. If you want to see some code, get with me. I'll show you the code. Afterwards, but that's all I got. Thank you guys for attending. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll be right here all week, or all day.